over 3 crore cases pending in courts across India.
सर सबसे पहले तो पैसे का इकोनॉमिकल क्राइसिस हो जाता है।
यहाँ आने में दिक्कत है, महंगाई है, हम लोग गरीब आदमी हैं।
Petitioners travelling all the way to Delhi to seek justice. Cry for regional SC benches getting louder.
If you want to file any case or for any appeal, we have to come out to New Delhi.
English, the only official language for judicial proceedings, need to make courts multilingual.
यहाँ आएंगे तो कोर्ट में आएंगे, हम किसी के केस के बारे में चर्चा करेंगे, हमें पता भी नहीं चलेगा किस चीज़ के बारे में चर्चा चल रहा है।
Hello and a warm welcome to Ground Reports, the one-stop show that's going to get you stories from the remote corners of the country. Our focus will be on those issues related to the common man on the ground. Through this program, we also take a peek into the lives of the people who are faceless, who are voiceless. This program will also focus on issues afflicting the nation on which immediate answers are difficult to find out. Today's edition of Ground Report focuses on India's courts failing to do justice. And this because of the huge backlog of pending cases. Some 30 million cases are pending in the Indian courts. What is the reason? Find out.
It's been a long journey for Bihar's Hardev Rai, who has travelled all the way to New Delhi to seek justice at the Apex Court. Caught in a legal tussle with Bihar government after he lost a job, it's more than 2 decades that Rai has been trotting from one court to another. When will he get justice is the unanswered question, always on his mind.
ये फिर तो सर सबसे पहले तो पैसे का इकोनॉमिकल क्राइसिस हो जाता है और उसके बाद पैसे जब हुए तो 1 महीना 2 महीना रिजर्वेशन के लिए करना पड़ता है। वहाँ आने जाने में असुविधा होती है, यहाँ जब आते हैं खाने की असुविधा है, रहने की असुविधा है और साथ साथ वकील साहब भी बहुत सारे अमाउंट मांगते हैं जिससे आर्थिक तंगी आ जाती है।
Lakhs of people in the country are awaiting their turn to be delivered justice by the courts for years. As per recent figures, 62,161 cases are pending in Supreme Court, 40.11 lakh cases are pending in 24 high courts, while 2.85 crore cases are pending in the lower courts. Experts point out multiple reasons for the delayed justice.
ज़्यादा अर्जन होगी, ज़्यादा पेंडेंसी होगी, डिस्पोजल कम होगी, टाइम फॉर डिस्पोजल और कम हो जाएगा कि बैकलॉग बढ़ता जाएगा। हर केस में अगर 1 मिनट या 2 मिनट या 4 मिनट भी ले गए तो केस तो दिन तो ख़त्म ही हो जाएगा। आज तो उतना ही है। सो इसलिए ये प्रेशर बढ़ता ही जाएगा और ये पेरेनियल प्रॉब्लम है। ये नहीं कि आज के दिन ख़त्म हो जाएगी। ये तो हर वैकेंसी, हर रिटायरमेंट के बाद वैकेंसी होती है और वैकेंसी आपको पता है किस दिन होने वाली है। लिहाजा उसको फिल करना जितनी जल्दी से जल्दी हो, ये कोर्ट का और सरकार का दायित्व है।
Out of total pending cases, 63 lakh cases are over 5 years old, 21 lakh cases are over 10 years old, while 90% cases are pending in UP, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Bihar, Odisha, West Bengal and Rajasthan. The government is making several efforts to fast-track the judicial process like appointing more judges, increased use of technology, video conferencing for the deposition, using 5 days of vacations to clear at least 10 cases, making Supreme Court paperless to ensure timely justice to lakhs of people waiting with their appeals.
Indian judiciary has been facing the problem of pendency of cases for a long time now. The experts are saying the government, along with the judiciary, should formulate a plan for the speedy disposal of cases and also to win the confidence of the society back in the judicial system. In New Delhi, with camera person Shiv Kumar, Ravin Singh Shoran for Rajya Sabha TV.
How the government is going to reduce this backlog of cases is a big challenge before the government. But what about creating new courts, creating more regional benches? Well, from time to time, there have been increasing demands to set up the National Court of Appeal, coming up with more regional benches in the 4 metropolitan cities. But that's a task still unfulfilled because there's no consensus still between the legislature and the judiciary.
Meet Swami Vimalnath from Kanyakumari. This man has travelled 3,500 kilometers to the national capital in his quest for justice. After facing disappointment at several courts in Tamil Nadu, Swami Vimalnath is now seeking justice at the apex court. A task that required him to travel all the way to New Delhi, as there are no other bench of Supreme Court in the country.
If you want to file any case or for any appeal, we have to come out to New Delhi. So that for the past 15 years, we have been stressing the government of India to open new court at southern side, especially at Madras or in Chennai.
Time and again, the demand for setting up regional benches of the Supreme Court has been raised. With just one seat of the apex court, people have to spend a lot of time and money to get justice. From travelling to staying in Delhi and paying hefty fee to lawyers in national capital. The quest for justice is turning into a high-cost affair for the common man.
मद्रास से आने में कम से कम 3000 किलोमीटर पड़ता है। सबसे पहले हमारे वहाँ से आने जाने का किराया ज़्यादा हो जाता है। दूसरा आके यहाँ पर रुकें तो भी 2-4 दिन रुकना पड़ जाएगा। उसमें अपने इतना खर्चा के लिए भी पैसा की ज़रूरत पड़ता है।
The authority to set up Supreme Court bench outside Delhi rests with the Chief Justice of India. As per Article 130 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court shall sit in Delhi or in such other place or places as the Chief Justice of India may, with the approval of the President from time to time, appoint. The Law Commission, in its 229th report submitted to the government in 2009, recommended setting up of 4 regional benches at Delhi, Chennai or Hyderabad, Kolkata and Mumbai to deal with the appeals arising out of high courts. But the Supreme Court rejected it in 2010, saying dividing Supreme Court would affect the country's unitary character.
Supreme Court regional benches, at least in the region, there are 4 regions, 5 regions are there. At least there, the Supreme Court branches, at least for the other causes like special leave petition. Normally, special leave petitions are very less because the people can't come to Supreme Court.
हर किस्म के केस सुप्रीम कोर्ट में आते हैं, तो ये बात उठी थी और काफ़ी चर्चा में भी रही कि हर सुप्रीम कोर्ट के हर स्टेट में 4 जोन्स में बेंचेस बना देनी चाहिए और यहाँ पे सुप्रीम कोर्ट को सिर्फ एक कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल कोर्ट के तरह सुप्रीम कोर्ट को बना के रखना चाहिए.
Supreme Court believes that the petitioners don't need to come all the way to Delhi as they can file their petitions online. The government has also formed a committee in every state to provide free of cost justice to the people.
People of various states has been demanding that the regional languages should also be allowed in the higher judiciary. Constitution does support their demand, but now the experts are saying this is the time for the government and the higher judiciary to think sympathetically about this demand, and it should be allowed for the better administration of justice. In New Delhi with cameraman Shiv Kumar, Ravin Singh Shoran for Rajya Sabha TV.
From the regional benches now to the language used inside the court. Language is a highly emotional issue, especially for the citizens who are coming from across the remote corners of the country. Not everyone understands English, and for them, it becomes a huge problem when other languages, especially the regional languages, are not allowed by the courts. Take a look.
Let local languages be used in the high courts of the country has been a general refrain, but largely rejected by the Supreme Court. R. Pandian from Tamil Nadu has been running from pillar to post because of a petition he filed many years back. It's a case of double whammy for Pandian. Not only has he been languishing at the courts because of the delayed trial, but Tamil being his first language, he doesn't understand English and that dampened his spirits.
क्यों हमारे साउथ इंडियन है, उनका इतना इंग्लिश भी क्लियर नहीं आता है और बाकी अपना लोकल भाषा तो बोलते ही हैं, बाकी हिंदी तो जानते ही नहीं है, एका दुका जानते हैं. यहाँ आएंगे तो कोर्ट में आएंगे, हम किसी के केस के बारे में चर्चा करेंगे, हमें पता भी नहीं चलेगा किस चीज़ के बारे में चर्चा चल रहा है. हम कैसे पता चलेगा हमारा कैसे चल रहा है और दूसरे कैसे चल रहा है, इसलिए हमारा को बहुत परेशान होता है.
Across the country, thousands of petitioners have the same story. Hardev Rai hails from Bihar and knows only Hindi, but when his lawyer argues his case in the Supreme Court in English, he finds it hard to comprehend.
हम लोग अपनी बात को उनके समक्ष नहीं रख पाते हैं, इसलिए कि समझते नहीं हैं भाषा को और नहीं समझते हैं, जिसके चलते वो भी जब हमसे कन्विंस उनको नहीं कर सकते हैं तो हमारी फैसला क्या होगा, हमारे पक्ष में क्या.
The Government of India has shot down the idea of amending the constitution to make Hindi the official language for conducting court proceedings in high judiciary and has relied upon the report by the Law Commission, which in its 216th report in 2008 had held introduction of Hindi as a compulsory language in Supreme Court and the High Courts was not feasible. but Article 348 of Constitution already has enabled a provision whereby the governor of a state, with the previous consent of the president, may authorize use of Hindi language in the proceedings of the High Court in that state.
भाषा का तो बहुत बड़ा योगदान है और भाषा की बहुत बड़ी प्रॉब्लम भी है। बाहर दूर दराज से आदमी आने वाले उनको बड़ी तकलीफ होती है और उनके साथ अन्याय भी बहुत होता है।
अगर हम इन खामियों को कुछ दूर करें, दुरुस्त करें, जैसे कुछ भाषाओं के बारे में क्लाइंट को उसकी लोकल लैंग्वेज के तहत ये समझाया जा सके कि आपके केस में ये है, सही चीज़ क्या है और बुरी चीज़ क्या है, परंतु इतना सब कुछ खर्च करने के बावजूद भी उसको त्वरित कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आता है।
So far, Allahabad, Patna, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan High Courts have been using Hindi as an optional language. Union Cabinet had on May 21, 1965, adopted a convention to seek the views of Chief Justice of India before taking any such decision. Despite all these provisions, speedy justice still remains a far cry. With Ravinder Singh Shivran, Rajat Kane for Ground Report.
So we showed you that pendency of cases, creation of more regional benches and languages are some of the problems which are faced by the Indian judicial system. But the representation of women in the Indian judiciary is also not very encouraging. If you look at the male and the female ratio in judiciary, it's really abysmal. But for the first time, we see that all the metropolitan cities, that is the high courts in Delhi, Bombay, Chennai and Kolkata, they have women chief justices for the first time. Take a look at this report.
Silver lining to the male-dominated world of higher judiciary. The four major high courts of Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata and Chennai now are headed by women judges. With the appointment of Indira Banerjee as Chief Justice of Madras High Court on March 31st, a woman has created history.
First in the line, first in the queue is a woman judge who is the Chief Justice of the Bombay High Court, Justice Manjula Chelur. But she will not be appointed to the Supreme Court for reasons which I don't know. अगर आप महिलाओं को नहीं अपॉइंट करते हो हाई कोर्ट और सुप्रीम कोर्ट में तो कुछ तो गलत है और ये गलती मुझे लगता है कि जिसको हम बायस प्रेजुडिस कहते हैं वही हो सकती है।
Madras High Court has 6 women judges including the Chief Justice, while there are 53 male judges. Bombay High Court is headed by Justice Manjula Chelur and it has the highest number of women judges, 11 against 61 male judges. Delhi High Court has been headed by Justice G. Rohini since April 13, 2014. The High Court has 9 women judges and 35 male judges. Calcutta High Court has been headed by Acting Chief Justice Nishita Nirmal Matre since December 1st last year. But this High Court has a poorer women-to-men judge ratio that is 4 to 35.
The Supreme Court should announce its policy towards women in writing. If this problem is not resolved voluntarily by the Supreme Court, then yes, it will point a finger to demanding reservations.
Among the 632 High Court judges in 24 High Courts, there are only 68 women judges, a mere 10.7%. There is just one woman judge, R. Bhanumati, among 28 judges in the Supreme Court. With Ravinder Shairon, this is signing off for Ground Report.
So how the government is going to bring about a balancing act between the needs of the Indian judicial system and the needs of the litigants is something to be watched out for. Time for us to slip into a short break. On the other side, we try and find out answers from the Law Minister himself. Back in a moment. Welcome back. You're watching Ground Report, and our today's focus is why Indian courts are failing to do justice. Let's now take a look at few more visible reasons why justice delayed is justice denied in India. Filing of frivolous cases leading to an increased litigation. For example, plethora of property dispute cases which are filed due to ill-defined property rights and the tenancy rights. This is one of the major reasons. If you look at another reason, that is, number of effective hearings in a case is very low, with about 10 to 15 adjournments on inconsequential grounds. That's a very significant point. Then you have acute shortage of judges. India has only about 10.5 judges per million of population, which is quite a poor ratio when compared to other countries. I posed these pressing issues before the Indian judicial system, before the Minister of State for Law and Justice, Mr. P.P. Chaudhary. Let's listen in to what he had to say. What are the remedial measures which the government has taken to reduce the huge backlog of cases which is mounting day by day?
You are correct. No doubt the area is a big challenge for the government, big challenge for the judiciary, and big challenge for the bar also. So for that purpose, we can divide it in two parts. Basically, how to reduce the areas, number one, and how to provide speedy justice. To reduce the area, to my mind, we have to use the technology to maximum extent. And secondly, apart from technology, we have to fill up the posts lying vacant. It may be in subordinate courts, it may be in district courts, it may be in high courts, and Supreme Court, and all these courts. And further, we have to strengthen the NALSA, National Legal Services Authority. So by this mechanism, we can reduce large number of cases. We can reduce the areas, providing the Lok Adalat at various levels. So this can play a very pivotal role. And apart from this, we need some certain legislation. So far, this introduction and bringing new institute, that is commercial courts, commercial division and commercial appellate division of Court Act, in 2016 we have brought that, and some amendment have also been carried out in the Arbitration Act. But we also need some amendment in Motor Vehicles Act and Negotiable Instrument Act, because under the Motor Vehicles Act and Negotiable Instrument Act, large number of cases are pending, and those are petty cases.
Mr. Chaudhary, there is a perception that the court infrastructure is not enough. We need more courts. Are we also creating more courts?
Basically, we have already created new courts. Large number of courts have already been created. As on today, in subordinate, district and subordinate courts, around 20,000 this sanction strength is there, and the sufficient courts have already been 16,000 courts have already been there around. And the remaining courts are in the process of construction. So within 1 year or so, the remaining court will be completed. So,
but looking at the number of new cases which are coming, you are saying that we don't need new courts.
But question is the infrastructure as on today. First, we have to, the infrastructure part may be in second phase, but first phase, use of technology, just like yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister has this inaugurated in the Supreme Court about the e-filing. So if we adopt the process of e-filing, then we can provide the speedy justice. And apart from that, CSC, because we have to now address those people who are living in rural area. We are not imparting justice to those people. And for that purpose, the common service centers are being created in every Gram Panchayat. And by 2018, we will be providing optical fiber connectivity to all the Gram Panchayat of the country, that is around 250,000. And once in every Gram Panchayat, one legal paralegal volunteer is there. That can provide the legal awareness, that can provide, he can also provide some sort of legal assistance to the poor.
And the Prime Minister said that we need to create a movement by which free legal aid needs to be given to the poor. How are you going to ensure that?
That's why I am saying that if 250,000 Gram Panchayat are equipped with paralegal volunteers and some sort of legal advice, all those cases can be dropped there only. And this is one sort of mechanism. And second part is about the pre-litigation mediation. So before approaching the court, if there is a strong mechanism of pre-litigation mediation, the conciliation between the parties, then even advanced countries like USA, 75% cases are being, they are not approaching before the court of law, and on basis of the pre-litigation mediation, they settle their issues. And after that, even the litigation is filed, then during the litigation, you can, we should also strengthen the conciliation process. And finally, even post-litigation mediation for approaching in the higher court, before approaching the higher court, you can also provide the strong mechanism for post-litigation mediation. And One more thing, we can provide this grievance redressal mechanism.
Another issue on which PILs have been filed time and again is the creation of regional benches. And another issue which I'll ask in the same question is on the languages. The language which is used inside the court, of course, is the English language. But a person who's coming from Tamil Nadu or far off, so from somewhere in the east, he obviously cannot understand the language of the judgment. He needs to depend on certain more people to understand the exact meaning of the judgment or the language in which the case is being fought by the lawyers. So can this be made easy for that citizen who's traveling from across the country?
Okay, just because under the Constitution, the medium which is used to be, language which is used to be in the court is provided Hindi or English. So that is the language which is being used, and for that purpose that is not a big issue, and it is basically this issue is to be determined by the Supreme Court and the High Courts.
So the government doesn't want to intervene on that?
So far the government is concerned, government wants that, even the government is promoting Hindi. Government wants that the medium of instruction medium should also be there, Hindi should also be there. There is no problem, but finally decision is to be taken by the judiciary.
In our regional window today, we take you to the tribal lands of Western Madhya Pradesh, where marriages have become a bane for hundreds of grooms and their families because marriage is a costly affair. Not only do they have to pay a reverse dowry or a bride price, but they have to bear extra expenses to the tune of 5 lakhs, which is actually not an amount which is affordable for the poor tribals. These marriages are pushing the grooms in a cycle of debt. We get you this ground report from Jhabua.
For Kailash Goba Katara, marriage became a millstone on his neck. How expensive will be his bride was the main concern before him. To get married, he had to mortgage his 1-acre land. Bride came for a price, but along with her came the endless trap of the debts.
लाड़ी के ले जाऊंगा तो ही मनक जागा कोटा लड़की करवा भी लाविन वापिस 20,000 रुपया भरेगा.
In the tribal lands of Western Madhya Pradesh, marriages have become a bane for hundreds of grooms and their families as it has become prohibitively expensive. Paying reverse dowry or the bride price is part of an ancient tradition. But in those days, amount was minimal, ranging from 1 rupee to 21 rupees as a token of honor. But over the years, due to the influence of non-tribals and tendency to show off, the amount has now increased.
वहाँ से लाई करन मतलब लाड़िन घरे बाप ने दीदा अब वहाँ अब यहाँ सब वही जो अब घरे जागा तब इन्हें मतलब ले जानी है कहीं भी दाड़ के मेहनत करें मतलब काम करावा काम कराने अब कहीं भी नहीं होगा तो अड़ी पड़े हैं या बोले दाड़की से इन्हें रुपया लाविन मतलब इन्हें वाणन देना.
The reverse dowry has increased to 3.5 lakhs. Liquor served in marriages costs around 1 lakh. This is apart from the other marriage expenses which cost anywhere between 50,000 to 1 lakh. Most tribal families do not have this kind of money and are forced to sell their land, migrate to other places to earn or borrow from money lenders at exorbitant interest rates and thus fall into a debt trap.
आज जितना भी बाहर जाते हैं, मजदूरी करने जाते हैं, पैसा कमा के लाते हैं, उसकी बड़ी राशि शादी में चली जाती है और एक बार शादी होती है एक लड़के की तो 3 से 5 साल तक वो परिवार पीछे हो जाता है. इसलिए इस कर्ज से मुक्ति लाने के लिए हम लोगों ने अपने काम का इसको हिस्सा बनाया और जितने भी गैर परंपरागत रूप से जो ऐसे मुद्दे हैं जहां पर उनका अतिरिक्त खर्च ज़्यादा होता है, जो खर्चा, उस खर्च को कम करने को लेकर हम लोगों ने अभियान चलाया.
Now a group of tribal activists have launched a movement to cap the amount of bride price and also regulate the entire marriage so that it is affordable.
आदिवासी समाज के सामाजिक कार्यकर्ता है, उनके माध्यम से हम लोगों ने ये प्रयास किए क्यों न इस समस्या का हल किया जाए. तो काफ़ी सकारात्मक इसके प्रयास हुए और सभी मैं पेटलाद ब्लॉक की बात कर रहा हूँ, पूरे जिले में इसका प्रभाव पड़ा.
Rules and regulations are also being framed to discourage this practice, but the success of these groups depends on the manner in which the village pradhans convince the rural populace, as they are the ones having maximum influence. Without this bond, perhaps the momentum will lose out. With Bureau Inputs, signing off for Ground Report.
Let's take a look at one of the legal luminaries who passed away this week. She has a record of many firsts in the Indian judicial system. Rajya Sabha TV pays its tributes to Justice Leela Seth. With this, it's a wrap on this edition of Ground Report. Send us your feedback at the email address flashing on your screen, feedbackgroundreport@gmail.com. If at all you feel you have a particular issue in your area or your region which has not been reported widely by the mainstream media, RSTV promises to send their cameras. Goodbye and thanks for your time.